Hello. Welcome to Total Truth Show. My name is Aldwyn from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And my name is Ken Kleinberg, and I'm coming to you all the way from the USA in San Diego County, California.
And I'm coming from Dallas, Texas. My name is Dr. Mike Montes.
And we will be right back after this short introduction.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show, hosted by myself, Ken Kleinberg from San Diego County, California.
And I'm Aldwyn, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And our goal here on this show is to help you to break away from the mainstream media propaganda and lies, the disinformation and misinformation that's out there in the mainstream, and really help you to start questioning everything and start doing the research for yourself. We want to punch through all of that disinformation and misinformation. Our goal here is to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass and then pave the way for a new awakened civilization. And we would love for you to come along for the ride. Don't take our word for it. The things that we share here on the show, that goes for our guests too. Start doing the research for yourself. Start going and asking the questions for yourself. Get out there and really find the real truth behind things. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome. Great introduction, I must say there, Ken. Nice work. Nice work. Today,
Thank you.
We have an amazing guest with us today, all the way from over the other side of the world. We're going to chat about the truth about your local power. We have Dr. Mike Montes in the room, and a little bit about him first before we chat with him. He's a digital marketing expert. He's founded several successful businesses before transitioning into a fruitful business coaching role. His ventures span from being an author to a podcast creator to holding elected office in Denton, Texas as a precinct chair. Despite his many accolades, he cherishes the simplicity of being referred to as Mike. Well, welcome, Mike.
Yes.
Great to have you. Great to have you on the show.
Great to be here.
And we can see Ken Dunner's in the house too. Hello, Ken from LinkedIn. He's joined us. He says, I'm watching from Sugar Land, Texas, just southwest of Houston, USA. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in that. Yeah, Ken. Oh, I love that. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in that. Yeah, I love that, Ken. You're a legend. Thank you for joining us. Okay, now this topic today is very interesting because when Ken sent through the suggestion for today's topic, the truth about your local power, and I didn't quite get what he was referring to. And I said, you mean the truth about your power? And then he explained what local power means. So shall we start with that topic right off the bat? Now, Ken, would you like to respond to that, or Mike on this one?
No. Go, Mike.
That's all me. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, this has really been something for me that I've been growing into. I certainly have not always understood how much power we have as an individual, right? And as the rights that we have that have been given to us have not, they've been given to us by what we think is the government. At least that's the way I used to think. But really, they're when we were created, we have these rights, and they're, as we say, in the U.S., it's an inalienable right? It's not able to be taken from us. So starting to understand where our power comes from and how we can utilize it locally, I've started to see a tremendous amount of impact that I myself have been able to have just by getting involved. So I wanted to, I love you guys. I love this show. And I wanted to come on and to talk about it, really to help your audience understand that they have power, and more so than they really understand or know. There's some really cool things that go on every year, especially in the U.S. that go on. But there's variations of this all over the world, and it's the people who take advantage of it, the people that know about these kinds of tricks of the trade and government, that are the ones that hold the power, and they only hold the power because the rest of us don't know.
So, this is very interesting, this topic, because the other day I had a situation here on the Gold Coast in Australia where I have trespass notices up on my front wall. On my front wall, my front door, I have trespass notices, and it says this includes police. And the other day, police came here looking for someone who wasn't here, and they basically assaulted one of my guys that lives here, assaulted him, and then gave him a notice to appear in court for obstructing police. And they were trespassing on our land. And so when we say local powers, we have this trespass notice. And so I said to him, there's a trespass notice, because I came after that. And he said, oh, that doesn't apply to us. And I said, under what jurisdiction? And he said, under like PPI. He rattled something off, which made no sense. And I got his name, I got his badge number. And then now we're taking a counter assault out on them because he's now damaged my friend's shoulder, right? And my friend is in a lot of pain. And now we're going to see what we can do in court. So when we say local power, how does that relate to justice?
Well, so justice can't be served if the individual doesn't call for it, right? So if we don't stand up, and if we don't, like you went through in that example, you went through and looked at what is it that the sign said and what's the law, and then you're going to stand up, you can take a stand and move to court, right? Most people are too afraid to even go that far. I know here in Texas and really in the U.S., we have a role that I sit in. It's called the precinct chair. Many people do not know what a precinct chair is or does. Essentially, it is the foundation of a party. So we have both political parties have their own precinct chairs, and that precinct chair makes up a county executive body. That county executive body then puts forward resolutions, and there's all sorts of variations of power that we have. But ultimately, there's a tremendous amount of us. So every single precinct has a precinct chair, or a space for precinct chair, and those precinct chairs are responsible for getting out information to their voters. So we have so much power locally, but not if we don't use it. There's a statistic right now in the U.S. We have roughly about 50% of the precinct chair positions are available, meaning no one sits in that spot. So the people that are able to hold their elected officials accountable are not doing it. We don't know that we have this power. We don't know that we have the ability to stand up and to make our voices heard. And for those that do stand up, like you, and in your case, you have to be willing to go the extra mile to be able to make your voice heard.
Yeah, and on the trespass sign, it actually lists police, and it says they can be fined up to $1 million on the trespass notice. That's what it says. So if we were to take that to court, let's see how that goes, right? Under common law, using common law, right? So, right. Yeah. Interesting to see. So, Mike, what got you on this path? What got you into being such a passionate person about where we're at in the world? We've got Bradley here. Hello, Bradley, Captain Brand Donovan on social media. Hello, Bradley. Good to see you. Actually, those joining us live, can you just let us know where are you joining us from in the world? So we know we've got Ken Bunner here. He's from Houston, US. Is that far from you, Mike? Houston, US?
Yeah, it's about 4 hours south of me.
4 hours south. There you go. Well, you and Ken are neighbors almost.
Yeah.
4 hours. Is that 4 hours walking or 4 hours driving? Or
that's 4 hours at about 85 miles an hour.
Okay, 85 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So, Mike, tell us about your bit of your past and history, and what brought you to do this, what you're doing now.
Well, it started a few years ago. Obviously, like most people in the world, there was a lot of mixed emotions about what was going on in our world, in our government, right? Every individual government had their own rules, and in regards to the big event that happened a few years back. And I got watching television, looking at all the things that were going on. I got so very frustrated because I felt like there was nothing I could do. So right. it was another podcast that I was listening to I think it was Steve Bannon, to be honest with you. It was just a clip that rolled through, Telegram or Facebook or YouTube or something somewhere. And I started listening to this guy that was being interviewed, and he started making a lot of sense about this idea of going and getting involved in the political space. Now, I've never wanted to be involved. I'm not a extrovert. I'm very much an introvert. I love the camera. I can do this in here because I know I'm around the world, but really, to me, I'm just in my office, right? So it's a comfortable space for me. So thinking about going and running for office, or having to speak in front of people, that was not something that got me excited. So it wasn't, I wasn't trying, but I was just so very fed up with not having any influence whatsoever. So I started talking to anybody that would listen to me. Hey, there's something, we need to do something. Let's start a blog. Let's start a podcast. Let's, create a media presence. Let's, whatever it is. And, it really wasn't, there was things that we were creating, but they weren't very effective. When I found out about that precinct chair spot, I called up my local Republican Party, asked to see if I had a precinct chair. And unfortunately I did. So I had to contact that person, and I was disappointed at first, but then got to know the precinct chair that sat in my precinct, and he was a really amazing guy. We've actually become very good friends, and I got an opportunity to get a view and have someone mentor me in what we're doing. And as our area grew to 5 times the size that it was during the previous drawing of the boundaries, a spot opened up. So I jumped in, started getting involved, and started voting as a precinct chair.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And how did you and Ken come to meet?
Ken, how did we come to meet? Ken it was in a coaching, is that right, Ken?
Certified mastery coaching.
Yeah.
And who was that with?
That was through a different entity organization. So it was a program that we there was actually probably about 50 or 60 of us that went through it in a group. And one of the things that they taught us to do is to practice and role play with each other as far as coaching goes. Well, as we started interacting with each other in that way and role playing, Mike was a coach and then I'd be the client, and then we'd switch the role and different things like that. And we'd help each other using their methodology.
Oh yeah.
Tongue tied there, using their methods and their philosophy on what they taught us. And then we would practice on each other. Well, that's basically how I got to know Mike, how I got to know a bunch of different people through that program. And then from that point on, for me, a really good friend of Mike's, his name is Rath. We've also interviewed him on this show as well. I got the opportunity to just kind of build an excellent relationship with him. And Rath is actually the one that is responsible for my awakening, if you will, for helping me wake up to the truth of what's really going on in the world, and this local power stuff, all that other stuff. And, I remember beforehand, there were a lot of things that I was very confused about. There was a gut feeling that something wasn't right, that something was off, and, why are they saying this and why are they saying this? But, and then I would hear little pieces from other direction that would be totally opposite of what the mainstream media said. And so I remember I was just in a very confused state. So on a particular call, after our coaching role play, Rath, just started asking me some just questions, and one question and after another. I left that call and I had 3 links that he sent me away with. One was a 3-hour documentary on the fall of Cabal. Let's just say after watching that, the rest is history. I went down freaking every rabbit hole I can possibly go down and started searching for more truths and different things like that.
You took the red pill.
I took I big time took the red pill.
Well,
Then
I'm representing the red pill today. I'm here as a representative
I love that.
of the red pill.
Then,
A
through that
mascot.
whole process, the Certified Mastery Coaching Program, I also started working with Mike. Mike kind of took me underneath his wing and started mentoring me. And well, honestly, I owe the existence of Mastery Weight Loss. I owe a large part of that to Mike because he's the
Okay.
one that caused me to really jumpstart and to really get things off the ground. And so both Mike and Wrath have played huge roles in my life over the last 3 years.
Amazing. And you've obviously kept a great friendship. And interestingly, when Mike reached out and said, "Oh, I'd like to come back on the show," I thought, "Oh, well, maybe we wait, sort of like not have too many of the same guest again and again and again, like wait a little bit." But then I thought, when I chatted with Ken and we said, "No, the time is now for this show," right? So that's another interesting bit of background about this show. And so this has gone ahead quicker because, Ken stood for it. Because I was thinking, maybe every 50 guests, after every 50 guests, we let someone come back again. So we mix it up, keep a lot of variety. However, I'm really glad we've got Mike back today. So what's happening at the moment? Now, you were saying earlier, just before we got on the show, about how you've become very self-sustainable at home, and you've got your own garden and you've got your own chickens. And can you let us know a bit more about your home environment and just let everyone know again where you're from in America?
Yeah. So from the great state of Texas is what we call it here.
Texas?
And
Texas.
yeah, that's right. Texas. So you've got half of the people from Texas who jokingly say we should be a nation, and the other half who say we absolutely should be our own nation. Just
Maybe
to
you
see
are
it from
your own
the
nation. Maybe
do
you
what?
are. Maybe
We-
you are your own nation.
We very well could be. There's actually some argument around that historically to say that we never actually joined the United States, but that's probably another show. So I'm from the great state of Texas, and I live in a small little suburb. It's actually outside of Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And in this part of the town I'm from is called Argyle, which technically I'm not even in the city limits of Argyle. So we've got this little custom home built type neighborhood. I've got a little backyard, and again, out of frustration, I thought, there's a little piece of dirt that God has given me to be fruitful and multiply, right, as the Bible says. So I'm going to go in the backyard and I'm going to figure this out. So year one, which was last year, I failed miserably. I got a peach tree planted and that survived, but everything else, it was a nightmare. So I tried again. I actually partnered with a company called Grow Your Grass Off, and that company helped me to they architect the backyard, what I'm to plant, where to plant it, what season, and then they've kind of come along as kind of as a fitness coach of sorts, except in the garden. So challenging me to spend some time out there every day, and then it was kind of a natural progression from the garden to, well, hey, we should do chickens too. The prices of eggs are going through the roof. Why not? So part of going, looking at the power that I have locally was when we moved into this neighborhood, it was right at the beginning of, the pandemic. And so we're really just kind of given information, didn't have any opportunity to meet anybody. We moved into this house about 4 days before the pandemic really came into full force. So we literally didn't get to meet our neighbors at all. What we were working on was the information that our HOA told us, which was no chickens. You have to be careful with what you plant, where you plant it, all of those things. As that frustration built, I started going and reading the actual HOA documents and starting to really truly understand where my power lies. And lo and behold, they don't actually have any rules whatsoever that state specifically that I can't have chickens. They say I can't have livestock, but they do say I can have birds. And so I'm willing to fight the fight if they so choose. But going and getting permission from the neighbors next door to me, talking to them, saying, hey, this is what we're doing. They actually were really for it. I've got neighbors on one side of me. They've got little kids, so they got to see the little chickens when they were starting out, and it was an exciting thing. So, kind of to Ken's point of how we met, we build a tribe, right? And I've talked a lot about tribe in my past, and although Ken and I don't live anywhere near each other in the U.S., digitally because of Zoom, we were able to create a tribe where we helped each other. So no money exchanged hands. I wasn't coaching him as a client. He wasn't coaching me, but we were sharing services and building and growing each other's businesses together, helping each other, encouraging each other. We built a tribe. And likewise, in our local communities, we have an opportunity to build a tribe too. So doing the garden, I can give some of my fruit or some of my vegetables to the neighbors, and hopefully they'll return the favor when I need something. But building that community, part of our power is that togetherness, is that unity of having those relationships, people that you can count on. When we moved into our I don't know if I shared this on the last time I was here, but we moved into our neighborhood just a few days before the pandemic. My wife was very pregnant, so we knew she was going to give birth any day. We had about 3 or 4 days in our house when she gave birth. So we had scheduled to be in a what do they call it, like a birthing center outside the hospital, natural birth type situation, and we had some complications. She's labored twice before this time, and she kind of knew what to expect, and she said there's something different about this. So we went to the hospital. She got some pain meds to help her maybe see if that was the issue. It wasn't. So they had to go in for just a C-section, and what was a C-section turned into an emergency C-section. They had to get him out very quickly.
Oh
She
my
had a very
gosh.
rare issue where her uterus essentially contracted around him and wouldn't let go. So
Oh my gosh.
they had to do the C-section, the incision that they did. It was like an upside down T, and when they went horizontally, they nicked an artery. She
Oh
lost
my
she lost
gosh.
88% of her blood on the operating table.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
Literally within minutes, and they had to do a
Oh my
crash
gosh.
cart
Oh,
transfusion, one where they warmed the blood pretty instantly, and that took, I think that was 2 times that she went through there. As they finally got her stable, they
oh
sewed her
my
up, and they
God.
actually sewed her one piece inside to another that shouldn't be sewn up, so
Oh,
they had to go back in a second
oh
time and
no.
operate.
Who are
Um,
these doctors? How can they get away with this? Do they not know what they're doing before they cut people up?
So the truth
Hell?
is that the doctor, she wasn't a young doctor. She was fairly seasoned. She had only seen my wife's case one other time in her career, and the other doctor that was assisting had never seen a case like that. So it's very, very, very rare what happened. Although it was traumatic, they took care of her, and her life was certainly spared. I was
Thank
kicked out of the
gosh she's
hospital as a result of COVID. I had to, because they didn't really at that time know what to do, or the rules and policies were not in place yet. This was March 18th, 2020 was when this happened. So I was out of the hospital that night. I was able to go back, and I share this story because we moved into this neighborhood really only knowing a few people before we moved in here. And for the next 2 weeks, we had people dropping food at our door, taking opportunity to surround us, to write notes. Some people even dropped off toys to us. I mean, it was just whatever I guess they just wanted to give, and they wanted to be of some sort of help. We had gift cards given, and it was 2 months worth of healing for my wife before she was able to really even kind of move around. But that community was a big part of how we got through the whole thing, even in during the middle of the lockdown, and people aren't talking to each other and nobody's getting to know anyone. They still wanted to pour into to our family and to what had been going on. So the power of local is not just what power we have individually, but it's what power we have when we reach out to the people around us and unify. I think that, we talk a lot about the red pill. We talk a lot about, big government and all those things. I think the number one thing that people in big government are most scared of is you and I. It's the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the aligning of our understandings and of our the things that we've been taught are true that aren't true. We're starting to wake up, and it's a global awakening. People are questioning, what happened with Ken. Rath definitely talked him through, or asked a lot of questions and got him to a place. It was just questions. It wasn't as though Rath said, you have to do this, or you have to do this, you have to do that. He just asked questions, and those questions drove Ken to find the answers. And those questions brought camaraderie. They brought togetherness. We all started aligning and understanding and asking the same questions and looking for different answers. And that, I think, in that, sums up how we have way more power than they want us to. And it's always been there. We're just starting to realize it.
Yeah, there's a great video on YouTube called The Tiny Dot. And if you look at this, it's a little cartoon. It's probably about 7 minutes long. In fact, we have it also in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group, which I'll pop the link in the chat here. Conscious Community Global Facebook group. If you go in there, go to the featured section, we have a whole lot of videos pinned in there. And this tiny dot one, it's this cartoon showing this is the government and the authorities is this tiny dot, and the rest of the whole thing is all people, the people, right? Man and woman all coming together. And if we all join together 99%, rather than listen to the enforcers, we're the enforcers. You got to listen to this tiny dot, right, jumping up and down. And then all the throng of people go, oh, but do we have to? Do we have to? And they say, well, if you don't, we're going to double your taxes. Right? Oh, okay, then we'll give you all our money and we'll work for you for our whole lives and we'll be slaves to the system. Right. This is what people have come to believe. But if the people come together, as you say, Mike, right, they actually, if the people come together, that the enforcers are actually scared of what happens when the people come together. And so what they try and do is they come down even harder with their weapons and you got to listen to us and right. And they have people living in fear. And the fear is what drives the love out of the community and has us believing that authority actually has our best interests at heart, because we know they don't in general. There are maybe some good people in government and in authority, whether it's local government or whatever. There's probably some good people in there. However, if they're good when they go in, they'll probably be corrupt by the time they come out.
That's exactly right. And I think, the idea of term limits and just serving for a short period would really help to lessen that. But I think our if all of us were to get together and to just say no, they can't put us all in jail. Who's going to police the jail, right? If the police officers and the military and the local officials all stand up and say, no, we're not going to take this anymore. This isn't the way. This isn't what, our government was founded on. This isn't what freedom is. This isn't how we are supposed to live. Who's going to enforce it? They lose their power immediately the moment we genuinely wake up. But there's so much fear that is driving our decision-making process. So much, right now, and we have I'll tell you a local story. It will only mean something to maybe people in Texas or in the DFW area. But I live in a county there's about 600,000 voters in my county. We are the smaller county next to Dallas County and Fort Worth, which is called Tarrant County. Those two counties are larger than us. But as kind of a we'll call it a tri-city area, it's a massive amount of people that live here in this area. We have a in the U.S. it's a two-party system. We have the Republicans, we have the Democrats, and theologically, I would align more with the Republicans certainly than the Democrats. I don't believe the Republicans have it all correct, but certainly they're a lot more in line, and that's where I find myself. So that's where I serve. Well, we have as I was explaining earlier, we have precincts. These little precincts are about 5,000 voters or less. And those precincts all combined together make up our county. So within our Republican Party, we have I don't know the numbers, maybe like 130 or so sitting precinct chairs currently, and we have authority, we have the power, and the way that it should be is that we should hold the majority of the power because we are the people. Then we have a chairman who his name is Brent Hagenbuck, who is the chairman of the Denton County Republican Party, and the way that he sees his his rule is he's in charge, and we have to do everything he says. And it's the the exact example of what's happening at our state level and what's happening at our national level, where you have these people who hold the highest powers, the highest offices, and those people believe that they are there to rule over their subjects rather than to serve the people who of their county, and so, or of their district, whatever that district may be. So right now we have a huge fight where majority of our precinct chairs are saying no, we are not going to comply. We are not going to. You're breaking the rules. You're breaking laws. You're breaking whatever it is that he may be breaking at that moment. And we said enough is enough, and we've stood up. Now, what most of these, I'm gonna use this term because I think it's fitting in this situation, but nationally and worldwide, is they're tyrants. They are these tyrannical individuals who believe they have so much power, and that power is justified, that they get to rule over us, and they will use fear tactics. They will say that you're going to get sued. You can't do that. We're going to take your, he hasn't threatened lawsuit to me specifically, but the posturing and the way that he presents himself is shows us the laws before meetings start, so that we ensure that we don't break any of them. And one of those laws that he's specifically named was we're not allowed to speak out of turn. So in America and in the great state of Texas, you're going to tell a sovereign citizen that they have no right to speak, or if they speak out of turn in this meeting, they're going to get there's threatened penal codes, threatened jail or being arrested or whatever, or removal. That's what we are fighting. But guess what? We stood up. We did not back down, and nothing happened. That it was all an empty threat. And I would hope that a majority of the listeners would understand that we have the greatest weapon we have is our numbers and our ability to stand strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And, the more that we stand in our sovereign power, our local power, and the more that we work as community, as actually come together as communities and share resources and have an abundance mindset and have a, come from a loving place always, right? Always coming from a loving place, from being kind to self and others, right? And that lightness, that beautiful source nature that we all have, that will then shine through and impact all those around you, right? That's what the whole Global Good News Challenge is about. It's about Good News Crusaders sharing gratitude and good news. It's very simple.
One other thing I'll say to this is, Mike, you mentioned, fear and different things like that around that. And that's how they control us. That's how they, grip us. And here's the thing about fear that I want to speak to real quick. To anybody listening who may not be all the way awake. Maybe you're looking at the media and you're looking at all this extra stuff, though, that's coming out on the side, and you're looking at a few alternative sources. You're going, wait a minute, this isn't matching up, but how does this all connect? Well, first of all, speaking of fear, here's how the mainstream people, here's how the, let's say well, shoot, I'll just use the word. Here's how the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the mainstream media, that whole picture, here's how they do it to people. Here's how they control people. So first, it's fear. They create a fear story. They create a false flag, such as C-19. Okay. Then what's
they C-19? Create all. What's C-19 for people that don't know what that is?
C19 is basically a code word not to say the C word.
Conspiracy.
No.
The jab.
Oh, the COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Well, you just said it. But anyhow, so I'm not going to worry about it. So
there's many C words like commitment,
yes.
compromise,
Sorry.
communication.
Yeah, sorry. I know Mike knew what I meant.
Cerebrals.
So they've got fear. What fear literally does is fear literally puts us in a hypnotic state. Now, we don't know this. We don't feel it. But in our head,
Yes.
it literally puts us in a hypnotic state.
It's like subconscious.
In that hypnotic state, yes, fear also blocks your logic and reasoning centers.
Blocks your logic and reasoning centers. Wow.
It does. Yes, it does. And then after that, what comes next? Compliance.
Compliance. The other C word. That's the other C word. That's the
other C word. But that's not what I was originally talking about.
But anyway, I know. I knew what you were saying. I'm just being cheeky.
Back to the whole picture here. This is how they do it. And when you learn the magic tricks of the media and how they do this to you, the magic now becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? The magic becomes null and void. Because you can now see through it. You can now see right through it. You know what the magic trick is, and you can see right through it. Now logic and reasoning come into place, and you start asking questions. This is exactly what they don't want people, is asking questions. This is why they constantly are throwing false flags, fear at people. Oh, look at all the smoke. It's time for you. Let's I know that they tried for a little bit of time to try to push wearing a mask again and all this other stuff. But interesting enough, I love it. Interesting enough, all of this, they're now putting out interesting, a podcast that I commonly listen to. He mentioned this, and I thought it was very interesting today. So they're now saying that masks aren't going to protect you from the smoke that's coming in. Well, you know what's interesting about that? I'm sorry, I got to go on a little rant here. What's very interesting about that is, so a smoke particle is 7 microns. All right. How big is a virus particle?
I don't know. How big is a
particle? One micron. Just
one micron.
How big are the fabric holes in a mask, and a typical mask, any mask? How big are they?
I don't know. I don't know.
80 microns.
80 microns.
80 microns. So put the pieces of the puzzle together. What they just came out and said about masks don't work with smoke, they totally null and just totally voided their entire first message of, oh, wear a mask, protect yourself from the virus. So, hi. I'll just say that much. But anyhow, knowing how they do this stuff and how they control people gives you even more power. And once you figure out how to start standing up for yourself and asking the hard questions, that's where you start taking your power.
Exactly. And sometimes that power can be in 2 words. You know what? When they brought the mask mandates in, right, and everyone was wearing masks everywhere, and I actually, initially I started to wear it, and then I found I couldn't breathe properly, and I was starting to feel quite depressed. And I went to the doctor. I said, look, every time I put a mask on, I feel really depressed. I feel I can't breathe properly. And he said, oh, you get depression when you wear the mask. He said, we'll give you a exemption. The exemption said that for health reasons, you don't have to list what health reasons. For health reasons, this person is entitled not to wear a mask. And so when I went to Thailand last year, I was on my way to Bangkok, and everyone had to wear masks. They said, you got to wear a mask before you come. Everyone had masks on. And all I said is 2 words, I'm exempt. And then I showed them my certificate from the doctor showing I was exempt. And they gave me 4 seats to myself on the plane. I thought it was fantastic. Everyone else was right next to each other. I thought they obviously think I'm going to infect someone because I'm breathing properly, and they're all breathing their own bad air in, right? Yeah. And I thought this is fantastic. So there's always, always a benefit to say, knowing your powers, knowing your local power, to say 2 words, I'm exempt. And 2 times I flew on the plane from Brisbane to Sydney, 2 times they asked for masks, and I said, I'm exempt. 2 words. No one asked another question. The only time they asked another question was on the flight to Thailand. And that's when they gave me the 4 seats in a row. But the other 2 times I just said, I'm exempt, because I knew that I'm exempt. I'm exempt. You can't force me to wear a mask. And who's the government to tell me how to operate my health anyway? Who's the government to tell me you've got to wear a mask so that you're healthy? It's outrageous.
It's interesting in both of those stories, right? So Ken, you said compliance, right? Which is, that when you comply, what you're doing is you're coming into agreement. And in the opposite story, you're saying, I'm exempt. That means I do not agree, right? I don't agree. The power is in your agreement, right? If you don't agree, they have no power. They can say all the things they want to say. If you agree, then they have the power. They can rule over you. And that's locally, we have so much. I mean, there is so much power in your your local community, just banding together 30 people, and 30 people say, no, we're not going to do this. And what's the law enforcement going to do in that area? They're going to haul 30 people to local jail that's only got 2 jail cells, right? I mean, there's and in number, we have so much power. If we don't agree, don't give them the power.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, what's been beautiful since COVID, we've got a whole lot of common law groups that come together on the Gold Coast. And so they meet up, Friday nights, Sunday afternoons, and they all get together as a community. If someone has extra vegetables, they'll bring some for free for the community. And then other people might come with their vegetables and fruit, and they'll come and share it with the community. And we educate each other about common law and about our rights and about our local power. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing. And I believe these common law communities have been gathering right across the world, particularly a lot more since COVID, from what I've noticed. How's things been in America for you guys around that?
For us here in Texas, I mean, it's wild, and people are all over the place. There's it's kind of a scary word, but it's militia. But they're just groups of individuals who say, and constitutionally we have the right to form, well-armed militia. So as long as they're organized militia, but there are groups of people who are saying we've had enough. We want to know what our rights are. We want to know what our, what powers we have, and their community. They're building community, even within the, we'll call it the confines of the political structures. There are people who have the mindset that the individual has the power, not the government. And they're starting to get into those places of power and starting to take back authority. Right.
Awesome.
So it's happening. It's certainly happening, but so important, even though it is happening, for your listeners not to hear, well, then somebody else is going to take care of it. I don't need to step up. Right. Because that's just not true. It's not other people's power that gives you and grants you freedom. It's your own. So it's important that each and every individual steps up and sees how they can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one way they can get involved is what I'm doing. My little bit is that we got Good News Crusaders now coming on with our Global Good News Challenge, which we celebrate our 3rd year anniversary this month in June 2023. And this I started at the start of COVID, right, when I saw all this negative news everywhere, and I went, I've had enough of all this bloody negative news. I thought, I'm going to help people put more good news out there. So we started the Global Good News Challenge June 2020, and every month since then we've been going. People have been doing these challenges around the world, and you've done one, Ken. You've done 1 or 2 maybe now, have you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and it's sharing gratitude and good news to help decrease depression and suicide rates and help lift the energy on the planet. And now, as of last month, my friend Jeff Tester came forward from Tester Power, and he said, I'll donate a $400 quality phone accessories pack that have 2-year warranty to lifetime warranty, and we'll send it anywhere around the world, $400 pack. And then my friend Angelique Pellegrino, she came forward. She said, well, I'll donate a rapid transformation therapy session. That's worth $780. And then the local plant tag ID lady, Margaret Briggs, she came to me for a media consultation, a media strategy session, which I gifted her. And then she donated some plant tag IDs, which are these little sort of acrylic ID things you put. It's like a little post you put next to the plants that you plant, and it's got the information about the seed packet on there, and it's waterproof, so you're not going to get the rain onto your little packets of information about your garden. And then you two, just before this session, you've now come along and you've said, okay, now Mike says, I'm going to donate 1 year subscription to Breakthrough to Impact Academy, which is normally $97 US a month, and it's valued at $1,200 US, which Australian's about $1,600 Australian. And then Ken comes along, he goes, I'll donate twice a month for 3 months, one-on-one sessions, coaching to get your health and weight loss goals in mind. Ken Kleinberg then donated that, and that's worth $175 US, which is about $250 Australian. And this is the power of your local. This is your local power we're talking about today. This is people coming together, and we're going to be Good News Crusaders. We'll donate what we can. If we can donate, in fact, no one's donated cash. Everyone's donated goods, which is interesting. Everyone's been bartering and exchanging. We're exchanging value. Every time someone promotes one of our shows, I'm going to mention you on the show. You get mentioned at every single Global Good News Challenge. This is the power about your local, in fact, the local power that you have. And this is what we're talking about today. So this is a very important topic, Mike. I'm absolutely loving this. And thank you to everyone who's joining us live. Let us know in the comments, what are you getting from this conversation right now? Let us know what is hitting home for you right now about what we're sharing. Please let us know whether you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch or Twitter. We're going to have this up on the podcast platforms after this. We're going to put on Spotify. It's going to be on BitChute and Rumble as well, along with all our other shows. You can catch on BitChute and Rumble. So wherever you're watching this right now, please let us know in the comments, what are you getting from this conversation? Now, Mike, why did you come up with this topic? Why now?
Well, we're on the verge. We're on the precipice of a power exchange. This is something I see very, very prevalent in my county, but also in the state. And there's a huge push. So I don't know if this has made it news all around the world, but we have an attorney general here in Texas that was just essentially removed from office. The same thing that they tried to do with Trump at the end of his term, they've successfully done for right now, removed him from office. They are trying everything, and it's in my opinion, it's not legal. What they're doing, they're breaking every rule to be able to get the job done, and they're doing it because they're scared. Right? This long term cannot hold up. There'll be court cases and hearings and all that will right the wrong, certainly. But until then, they're doing everything that they can to discourage us from understanding what power we have, from making it scary, from those champions who are willing to step up and say enough's enough. They're trying to make an example out of them. So I think now is so important for every person. They can't throw every single one of us in jail. They can't shame every single one of us on social media. They cannot shut every single channel down. They can't do it. They've tried now for years to shut down the voice, to shut down the Great Awakening, to shut down this movement. They can't do it because the spark has already been ignited and it's spreading across the world. So why now? It's so important that we keep that momentum going. We just need a little bit more push. We've got till 2024 here in the United States that I believe things will change. That we talk about the cabal a lot and about, all these evil powers that be. They're running towards 2030. There's a big initiative that I still don't think we have a full picture of yet, but they're running towards that goal. We have to be running equally as hard, if not harder, not towards trying to affect the nation and the world, but doing it by affecting our family, by affecting our our neighborhood, our neighbors to the right and to the left of us, across the street, behind us, our community, our cities, our towns, our counties. Those areas we can make great strides towards people waking up. I wrote a very long email that no one in the world would like to read, I'm sure, outside of these precinct chairs, and even some of them didn't want to read it. Point by point, going through what my county chair has done, the wrong things that he's done, the things that he's said that were not true. And his response to me was, no sane person believes you, right? It was just an attack. He didn't refute anything I said. He just kind of dismissed it, which tells me one great thing, that one email I spent a couple hours sitting and writing to the right person absolutely affected change and lots of people's minds. From that email, I had people that were not with us in the political arena come onto our side. So just one person. I don't have a huge media following. I don't have lots of people that listen to me. I'm just involved at the local level, but I'm affecting change. We're going to get this next election. We're going to get a lot of things done, and we're going to do it because more and more people are waking up. And that's why this is so important right now. We've got to keep that momentum going.
Yeah. I'll add to that. And I'll say, I may not be like in a position like Mike, where, he's in a very hot seat of political craziness. I'll just put it that way. Interesting enough. So here's like another part of my beginning story on how through my awakening. So through my awakening, I dove down a whole bunch of rabbit holes, found out the truth around 9/11, found out the truth around the Titanic, found out the truth around a whole bunch of different things. But then at the same time, I was also starting my own brand and company, masteryweightloss.com. I'm a weight loss coach, and based off of my own personal experience of losing 62.5 pounds and keeping it off for going on 6 years now, I teach other entrepreneurs how to do the exact same thing, but without a diet. Now, through all of that, and yes, that was kind of an elevator speech, but through all of that, I found another passion of mine. So I've never been like one into like talking too much about names of people in government and corrupt, it's like all that other stuff. I get the big picture. As far as like really diving deep and explaining it all to people, that's kind of where I kind of lack. But my passion, I found, is I was diving deep into health subjects, into food subjects, and different things like that. I began to find so much corruption and lies in that particular industry. That became now a passion of mine, to not only help my clients to now produce more lasting results in their journey and produce permanent results in their journey, but now it also becomes my passion to now educate my clients on the truths that I found and show them how to bypass all that mainstream jargon that's thrown out there. You do a Google search, for example, on what's the best proteins for you. You're automatically going to get an agenda that is leaning towards plant-based. And I'm going to tell you respectfully, because I know Aldwyn, I know that you're more of a, you don't like to consume so many animal proteins, and I respectfully get that. But the studies do show that the better nutrition and the better stuff out there is in the animal proteins and animal fats. The research does show that. What's the agenda they're pushing out there? You've got celebrities, you've got mainstream news, you've got all these other people. They're pushing fake meat. They're pushing plant-based. They're pushing all this stuff. They're even setting fear into people as far as, oh, if you don't this and this, you're harming the environment. So it's producing what in people? Fear.
Yes.
And so people are complying to that. My research shows that is not true. My research shows that actually they're the ones that are harming the environment with all the processing they're doing, with all of this boxed food that they're putting out, with all of this pesticides they're doing, with all this grain they're feeding our cows and our chickens. They're all of that stuff is what is actually damaging to the environment. My passion is to literally, and that's part of my brand, is to literally punch through all that misinformation and disinformation and bring the truth to people and show them, hey, here's another one I'll throw out there. Hey, here's the real truth behind cholesterol. Did you know that HDL and LDL are not cholesterol at all, that they are actually lipoprotein transports? They are cholesterol transports.
Oh,
LDL cholesterol, one transfers cholesterol through the body, different parts that need it. The other one, LDL, I think it transfers cholesterol back to the liver to be reused. Here's another bombshell that I'll just throw out there. Our bodies literally produce over 3,000 milligrams of cholesterol per day, yet the American Heart Association, which is 80% owned by pharmaceutical companies, the American Heart Association wants to sit there and tell you that just consuming an extra 300 grams of cholesterol per day is going to put you at a higher risk of coronary heart disease. Does that make any sense? If you look for the truth, you will find it. And, my purpose behind getting all that is look around you. It's not just geopolitical. It's the food industries too. The food industry is corrupting, and it's lying, and it's deceptive, and it's trapping people and actually causing weight gain, causing obesity. That system is actually causing all mortality diseases out there. It is my job and it is my passion to literally help free people from that matrix system. So anyhow, that is my bandwagon. I'll get off of it.
I agree completely. And we do have What the Health documentary, just to back up what Ken has just been saying. What the Health documentary, go into Conscious Community Global Facebook group, Conscious Community Global Facebook group, join the group and check out that documentary about exactly what the health, particularly around the dairy industry and the meat industry, and what's been happening in those two areas. What the Health, and Seaspiracy is another interesting one too. Seaspiracy.
And then I will also add to that, this is a gem that I just recently found. And my gosh, I've got to give this person kudos because she wrote a phenomenal book. This was just published 2022. I found this through somebody I follow on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I got to get that. Click buy. But you see this
con. Oh, the Great Plant-Based Con. Oh wow, yeah. What does it say?
What's the book off of Amazon? So I'm going to read to you from the back real quick.
Yes,
and then I'll put it back over to Mike because this is his spotlight.
And we'll give the mic back to Mike. Okay.
Give the mic back to Mike.
So here's what the back of the book says, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a glimpse.
Yes.
How diets that exclude animal foods can damage your health. How big food and big pharma profit when you eat more plants. Why a rich and powerful church wants to take meat off your plate. How scientific studies distort the evidence in favor of plant-based diets. Yes, they do. They actually pay scientists tens of thousands of dollars to produce cherry-picked studies that just pretty much support only what they want to say. So, and then lastly, how the media often acts as plant-based advocates rather than reporters.
How interesting. How interesting. And Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, kind of going back to like the backyard garden and the backyard, having chickens and doing, taking back that power, right? I think it's important to understand what the plant-based diets are doing to us. It's important to understand what the government wants to do by taking, giving us fake meat to eat. The reality is, so I've been a little bit, do you remember the old cartoon character, was it Elmer Fudd, who's always hunting a rabbit, right?
Yeah.
So for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I kind of turned into that guy. We had a rabbit get into our ecosystem and was eating my cherry tomatoes. And these were the first the first things to produce fruit. I was so excited to, we're going to have our first taste of our, homegrown tomatoes. And that little bugger ate our tomatoes. Not only did she eat our tomatoes, but then she had babies in our backyard, right?
Oh,
So now they didn't, unfortunately they didn't survive. We were excited about having little bunnies. I think some birds came along and ate them right up. But this,
oh no.
yeah, but this rabbit was public enemy number one in the Montes household, right? I was trying to put Epsom salt, whatever I could do naturally to just deter this rabbit from coming around. Well, when you think about this plant-based diet and you think about the industrial complex that has to be able to create enough produce to create fake meat, to create, this entirely, vegan system. Well, those farmers, they have public enemy number one too. They're all Elmer Fuds also. So they have to kill every single rabbit, every single bird, deter the birds with chemicals, all the things in the ground, everything that they can kill, they have to kill in order to maintain a crop, in order to keep all the fungus and pesticide or fungus and growths with the pesticides, to keep all those in check so that their product is produced well, right? So taking power away from them and saying, no, I'm just going to, we do all natural. There's no chemicals in our backyard. I don't treat with that. I spray with orange peel soaked water. That's what keeps most of the bugs away for us. But I don't have to go, not yet. We're still trying to transition, but I don't have to go as much to the grocery store to go get tomatoes, to go get raspberries or blueberries, cucumbers, zucchini, all the things that I've got. Lemongrass, we've got some lemongrass tea that we're going to be brewing. These things are growing in the backyard. So it's taking a power away from these farmers, the whole entire ecosystem, which then, takes then power away from their ability to say, eat nothing but vegetables or eat this plant-based diet or whatever. They're killing their system. The system, the way that this world was created to be, sustains itself. We've come in and created all these processes to kill the environment, to kill animals, and then we say, oh, this is better for the environment and you're not eating animals, but in reality you're killing more animals and it's going to waste than you are saving them, right? So one way or another, the power has to lie in you, and really your opportunity to choose. Doesn't mean that you have to have a garden in the backyard. It doesn't mean that you have to have chickens just to have your power. You have the right to choose. You get to make decisions based not on my lifestyle, not on what the government says, but really only on what is best for you and what's best for your family, right? That's what's so readily available to us if we just take a stand.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, Mike. It's so great what you're talking about. And it's making me think, gee, I'd really like to have some chickens in my backyard. So do you have a chicken coop? Do you have do they have babies in your backyard and all that? So do you have a rooster that makes noise all day? I mean, how does it go?
So no rooster. That's one thing I won't do. So we got our chickens from the local little town tractor supply type company. We got ours a day old, so they were sweet and cute. They lived in little boxes in our living room area. We had a little heat lamp until they kind of got too big for that box. And then I went down to the local hardware supply store and bought a second box, cut a hole in it, made a little door, and created like their own little ecosystem. They've got pine shavings that are at the bottom, and they live in our garage until tomorrow. Our coop just came in from being shipped in, so we're building tomorrow morning. We'll be building their coop. They'll live outside, and it'll be a fun time. They're actually also saving us, believe it or not. We got to get rid of our pest control. So we let those chickens in the backyard, and they eat up all of everything. Spiders, you name it. They will anything that's moving, they'll go through and clean it all up, and they'll fertilize our yard for us. So it's all around. It's a big win.
What about geckos? Would they eat little geckos,
They'll
little
eat anything.
lizards?
They'll eat anything. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
All
Okay.
the little lizards.
And where do you get these coops from? Where do you order those from?
The one we got was eBay. There's the
Okay.
Tractor Supply has them, or you can get them on Amazon. Really
Okay.
depends on the kind of where you live and what their needs are. For us in Texas in the summertime, it gets really hot, so our coop had to have a breezeway, so doors that would open that have chicken wires so that nothing can get in, and then we'll have to do a little digging to make sure that nothing can crawl underneath the little fenced in area that we'll have for it. But the coop, for the most part, they're very small, and if you've only got 3 or 4 chickens, you really just need one, and they're going to live on the side of our house for the most part. We have space between, it's probably about 4 feet between the fence line and our house, and it goes about 12 to 14 feet deep, and then
Right.
it'll open up to our backyard, and our backyard is more than enough space for them to run around. And at night we'll put them in the coop, make sure that they're safe. We have plenty of bobcat around here, bobcat, coyote, even some rat snakes, which are very well could get into the chicken coop. So there's we're building our ecosystem. There's even talk about us maybe doing rabbits again. I want to try not to say that too loud because my wife might peek around and tell me no. There's a thing called chicken math, I think is what they call it. So we started out with 3 chickens, and we ran out of feed. So I went to the store to go get some more feed, and accidentally came back with another chicken. So now we have 4 chickens. So I'm scared to go back to get more feed because they're just so cute when they're little, and it's hard to resist them.
And what do you feed them?
So when they're little, they've got we have like an organic grain that has a certain percentage of, they need a certain percentage of protein in it, but really they'll eat table scraps. So we had a cucumber that was kind of nearing its point where we really didn't want to eat it, so we just cut it up and gave it to them, and they loved it. I grow sprouts for them, so I've got a little jar on the counter, and every 5 days or so, the sprouts are ready. And it's just like a hydroponic, like a little mason jar with a chicken wire on the top, and it just grows, naturally with just a little bit of water, and feed that to them. They love it. They eat strawberries, bananas, but they literally will eat anything you give them. They're
Not meat though. You don't give them meat, do you? Or do they eat meat too?
So I have a teenage boy who's 15 and an 11-year-old boy, and they are really excited about giving the chickens chicken. I'm totally against that idea. I think it's just not an okay thing. But really, I mean, they'll eat their own eggs. They'll eat, left to their own devices. They'll eat anything that you put in there, anything that's edible. Yep.
That is incredible. And do they get sick easily or anything like that? Like, how do you sort of keep them healthy?
I mean, as far as I know, as far as I know, they're fairly self-sustainable. We'll see. This is our first time round, so we don't know. We don't know what we don't know yet. But everything that we're seeing and reading, and of course, we have the people at Grow Your Grass Off who are kind of walking us through the process and making sure that we're feeding them right food and giving them stuff. There are a few foods that we shouldn't give them that doesn't sit well with them, but ultimately, bugs are going to be eradicated in our area. There's a mechanism on YouTube. I've seen it kind of circulating, which I think is cool. They use they basically kind of grow larvae like flies to feed as protein to the chickens. So there's really all sorts of things that you can do, ecosystems that you can create to be self-sustaining. Our hope and our goal is, as we buy organic foods, and like I said, we've got a lot of hungry mouths in the house, and so sometimes we buy more than we can really get through in a week or 2 weeks. So all the leftover food, rather than throwing it into the dump and into the dumpsters, it'll go to feed and fatten the chickens. And we've named them. we've got so that means we won't eat them. They're not going to be food chicken or meat chickens for us. They're just going to live long healthy lives and produce eggs until they're done. They produce for about 2 years, and as long as there's no rooster, they're just
Okay. No rooster. And how after, so you get them as a chick, and then how long does it take for them to start giving you eggs?
It depends on the breed, but typically around 4 to 6 months.
Well, that's not long. 4 to 6 months is not long when you can bring them up like that. And you'll have much happier chickens if you bring them up from chook rather than them traumatized being in a big bin or something, because I've seen some horrible footage of what happens in those chicken places when they sort through the chickens. They're just looking for the hens, and they actually gas all the 1-day-old chook, the little chicks. They gas them all in a big thing because they don't want the males. So they just gas them all. I mean, that's traumatic.
I'd say so. Yeah. There's no gassing going on at our house. They're having a good time, and we'll take them out of the boxes, in the daytime, especially the weekends, take them out there and they go run around, and they're just, they're sweet. They're actually very, I thought they would be a little bit standoffish, and there is, obviously we don't use the word chicken for nothing, right? When we call somebody chicken, they're very skittish. But once you grab them, you hold them, and they feel safe. They're actually really neat little animals. Our favorite is we have one called a buff Orpington, which is it's a yellow chicken, and it'll produce a lot of eggs for us. The 4 eggs, we probably will have more than we can eat as a family. So, that's another thing to mention. Just if you don't know this, so when an egg hatches, there's a film that's on the outside of the egg, and as long as it's not washed, it doesn't need to be refrigerated. But the moment it's washed, it has to be refrigerated. So it can last up for after the hen lays the egg, it can last for 4 to 6 months before it spoils. So most of the eggs that you're buying from the grocery store are 4 to 6 months old. And then they wash them off before they put them into those little cartons. So then at that point, you have about 2 weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks before the eggs are bad. So think about the fact that the eggs that you're eating are as old as they are. That means that they're probably not very full of the same kind of proteins as when they were first laid. They're not as good for you, and they're not as flavorful. They don't taste as good. So our eggs, by removing the big complex, the shipping process and all that, and just bringing that home, we're getting better food, better protein, better nutrients for ourselves. And it's a better way of living because we're now forced to be outside, just where, just the hustle and bustle of life. Sometimes you can find yourself just come home from work, you sit in your house, you don't do much. I know that's not you, Ken. I know you're always at the gym, but for the rest of us, right? We can get into our night attire and just sit, right? And nothing is making us get out. So the chickens will force us to be out there, which we're excited to be anyway, but force us to be out in the yard, tending the yard, growing vegetables and food, and doing the things that really we were created to do, right? We were not created to live in these wooden structures. We were meant to, and we lived from the beginning of time, we lived out in nature, and we found shelter in nature, and we our feet touched the ground and our hands touched the soil, and we were one with nature. We've talked about him. He needs to come back too. Wrath. I feel like he's here in spirit. We keep talking about him. But one of the things I love about Wrath is he grew up in Hana, Maui, without electricity, out right next to a lagoon. I've been to the lagoon. It's gorgeous, where he grew up. But, he talks about how he used to live off the land, and I can't imagine because I didn't do it, but I could sort of imagine what that would be like. And, and that's, I think, the way that we were intended to be one with nature. And when he, as growing up as a kid, he's told me they had to kill an animal for food, it was an honoring thing. It wasn't something that was done, as they're doing it now in the gas chamber. They respected the life, and they understood what that life was giving to them, and they honored the land, and they honored nature. And we've lost that, right? We've lost that as a people. And I think that's,
Yes.
again, that's robbing ourselves of what power we could have just by the way the culture is built.
Our local power. You know what? This is inspiring me to get my own chicken coop happening, because I've actually got room. I've got a veggie garden started. I'm actually going to, my whole backyard, I'm going to fill with fruit and vegetables is my plan. And I've got some great organic gardening stuff. There's this thing called Key 2 Group. Actually, I'll put the link in here, Key 2 Group. Now, these guys, they do this phenomenal sort of fertilizer that's like natural, brings all the natural ingredients back in the soil. And it's hardly known about. It's awesome. I'm going to pop, it's key2group.com, I believe. Key number 2 and group, group, Key 2 Group. So I'll pop it in here. And then you can have a look at it. But yeah, I love this conversation, because this is really what it's about. It's about coming back to be self-empowered, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And the more we can do that, yeah, here it is. Key 2 Group, bioremediation and agriculture. Key 2 Ag is a whole product with high organic carbon content that stimulates biological activity in soils and is the only natural wetting agent or water sponge. I have to go into the website to see the rest of it. Water sponge. Presently known. These elements are vital to produce optimum nutrition and yield in all vegetation and plants, which in turn provides optimum nutrition to the immune and health system of animals and humans. It's a world first raw material. It's all here. I'll put the website. You can read all about it. It just keeps going. This is fascinating. And this could be a real game changer for a lot of people who want to start their own gardens or who have farms with produce. This is something that you could actually use on your farms to actually get better yield, better tasting yield, because your soil is really crucial, right? And let's just talk about gardening for a bit. So thank you, Mike, for sharing that. You really inspired me to get my own chickens. So I'll definitely be looking into that, because on the Gold Coast here, they say, you can't have any chickens if you've got under 1,000 square meters of land, right? And I've got 850 square meters of land, right? Mm-hmm. However, they do say you can have birds, and they say chickens are the new dog. Chickens are the new dog. This is what I've heard. And friends of mine in Gingy, and they have their own chickens, and they're like pets. They've got three little chickens, and they hang out with the dogs. They hang out with all the other animals, and everyone's happy, And they've got a donkey there as well in Gingin. This is my friends Colette and Andrew that do Colette. She's on my Facebook. Colette Whelan and Andrew Haupt. Check them out. They're called the Self-Worth Warriors, and they're just out near Gingin. And they're actually two of my mass media mastery. They're part of our family, two of our clients. And you can check them out there. And they do retreats at their property. So they have self-sustainable. They've got their own veggies and all that going on. They've got a donkey. They've got 3 chickens. They've got 4 dogs. And they do retreats, and they do beautiful, they've got gorgeous stuff happening out there. They do have fires out there, as in like not bushfires, but like, like they have like they have yurts where you can stay, like big yurts, sort of these beautiful camping areas that you can stay in. I actually went to a self-love weekend there in February this year, and I feel that my life has actually turned around a lot since then, very interestingly. So I think self-love is a really big thing when it comes to your local power, because if you don't have self-love, you're going to live in fear. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. And you're taking advantage of that local tribe, right? And growing community, and there's power in understanding that self-love, and there's power in that community. And look how amazing you have friends who have all of that available to them. That's what we need to do as people, is look to our local area. Who can I meet? Who shares the same interests that I have? Who thinks like I do? Who's looking for local? Those people, there's power. There's so much power in being together and being a part of it. So that's awesome that you're doing that. I need certainly more places to go retreat to. That sounds amazing, with a yurt. Oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah,
that's a little bit of plane ride though for me.
I'll find their link to their stuff. They're on Facebook, Self-Worth Warriors, or look up Colette and Andrew. But I'll just pop a link in here for you guys to connect with them. They're really cool people, and definitely worth coming from America. You would love it because they've got kangaroos down there and all that sort of thing, kookaburras. It's beautiful, beautiful. It's real Australian native outback.
Well, one thing I want to say here as well. So also to maybe people in the audience right now that maybe don't have the ability to grow your own vegetables, or maybe you don't have the ability to, have, livestock, in your backyard. And, what can you look for? What places can you go to get some of these foods? And maybe you're even looking for alternative sources for shopping for different things and stuff like that. One place that I can recommend that you can go to that pretty much supports more like for us here in the United States, we like supporting businesses that are America First businesses that don't have like some alternate agenda or anything like that. Yeah. And there's one group of people that I have recently just really started to promote them because I love what they're doing. I see what they're doing. I love their whole platform, and they are actually they've actually got in development. It's called Badlands Media is the website, badlandsmedia.tv. Okay. So if you are looking for an alternative source of news and media and different things like that, you guys, this is the place to go. Badlandsmedia.tv. This is the place to go for sure. Okay. What they've also started developing in result of all of this is Badlands Media Marketplace. And everything that they're putting together in their marketplace, every one of these are America First angled companies and different things like that. For those of you who might be viewing that aren't in the US, what does that mean, America First? Basically, it means you first. Basically, it means, they're bringing to you people that are part of the solution, if you will. I don't know how better way to put that. Maybe Mike, you can put that in a better way, but these guys, so it's on their website, badlandsmedia.tv, and then you go in the menu and you click Marketplace, and they've got it's a building place that they keep adding more and more and more vendors, people, and different things like that. You can get CBD through it. You can get freeze-dried meat through there for more emergency supplies. You can get, there's a ton of stuff. There is America First Insurance for health insurance. So they've got a guy who is on our side and is doing what he can to provide better health insurance for people. So, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of some extra tools here on resources that you can go and you can look for. Here's just a couple of them. So I love these guys. I love what they're doing. And the founder of Badlands Media is John Harold, and Mike, you'll know him as Patel Patriot.
Oh, right on. Very cool. So
he's the founder of Badlands Media.
Awesome. So there's only so much I can say. Certainly not to the global audience yet, but I'm involved in a something similar. It's a little larger than that, and it has some of our most favorite champions of this, this movement to local, and this movement to moving away from the cabal. Some of the names, if I were to say, you would know exactly who I'm talking about. We're working towards creating an ecosphere that is even what Badlands is doing. It's a step further, and it's a bit bigger. It's actually just started today. In fact, internally, we've launched the application and started to grow the network. So this might be something that I can share with you guys both, off air, and then as things get ready, maybe it's something that we can push, because it's not just America first. It's really not about an America thing. It's about the freedom movement, right? It's about every nation, every every country, every creed, all of us being able to move away from, not number one, our dollars, move away from these big box companies like Badlands, what they're doing, where they are, trying to create almost a alternate ecosystem, right? Where we have different businesses, but we're doing it even bigger. I cannot wait to share. I wish I could today. I wish I had the release to be able to do that, but it's coming, and it's coming soon.
Mike, you're making me excited, and I'm now sitting on the edge of my seat here.
Sounds amazing. And there's your website there, breakthrough to impactacademy.com. What's on there, Mike?
So Breakthrough to Impact Academy, that is my business coaching. So I've, among other things, I've been a marketer and a business coach, a marketer almost my entire life, for about 30 years, but a business coach the last 3 or 4 years. And Breakthrough to Impact is kind of a culmination of all of my efforts to create this year-long training program. It's really a DIY there on Breakthrough to Impact Academy. But it is anything and everything that you could think of. If you need help with understanding how to write emails better, if you need help with, which most businesses do, they need help with understanding the market dominating position, what makes them unique in the marketplace, why people should choose them versus others. So I've got a free book there. It's called Your 45-Minute Breakthrough to Impact. In it, I talk about 12 different areas that you could effectively change today with no help, no outside influence. You can just get alignment in these 12 areas. You can grow your business. And then through that system, I have, I think I shared another link with you. It's a simulator. And that's through my other brand, the Tribe Maker. So I talk a lot about Tribe. It's because I see myself as a tribe maker. That's what I like to do, is grow community. So the Tribe Maker has a simulator that you can go in, you can put in how much you make annually. You can put in what your gross profit and your net profit margins are, and then pick your, if you're whatever currency you work in. And there's instructions there. If you can just affect it by 1.4%, a 1.4% impact in every area of those 12, plus there's an additional, it actually goes all the way to 40 different areas. What the impact on your business will be at a dollar amount. So with 1.4% shift, that means cutting cost by 1.4%. 1.4% is not a lot, right? That's not a huge cost. Cut, right? Increasing your traffic by 1.4%. All the things through email marketing, through social media, through website. It actually, there's a formula there that is going to give you an output of how much you can increase your revenue. So that's what I do. That's what Breakthrough Impact is about. The Academy and everything all circles around growth and growth in a modular way that you can actually, dollars and cents track your growth pattern.
Amazing, Mike. That is so awesome. So for those that are tuning in on audio, what we said there was breakthrough to impactacademy.com, and the 2 is just 20. It's not a TO. Sorry, it's not a number 2. It's TO. Breakthrough to impactacademy.com. And the other link we shared here is the tribemaker.com/SIM, SIM. thetribemaker.com/SIM. And we do have to wrap up shortly. So, Ken, how can people connect with you, my dear?
Well, the best place to connect with me, and you have my link, I think I saw it come up there, my link tree. So my link tree, there's 3 main links on my link tree. There's more than that, but the top first 3 links are the most important. So the first one is to join my Facebook group. It's free to join. The only thing you have to lose is extra pounds. So there's that one. And then the next link is book an appointment with me. Okay. I have what's called free assessment calls. Book an appointment, come in. I'm not going to hard sell you. I'm not going to drag you down and make you purchase. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out if you're the right fit, and I'm going to see where your problem areas are, and I'm going to help you with those. And then, yes, of course, then we can talk about the different levels of programs that I have. Lastly is my website, www.masteryweightloss.com. That is also on my link tree. You can find all kinds of cool stuff on my website. But literally the most two important ones are my group and my calendar link. My link tree link for those listening to by audio, that is www.linktr.ee/FatFighterKen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken. And for those who want to connect with me, you will find me also on, well, just Google Aldwyn Altuney and you'll find me everywhere. Or just go Aldwyn Media Queen. And you can also check out my link tree is linktr.ee/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. And I am heading off to Bali for 2 weeks on Tuesday. I'm so excited. I haven't been to Bali ever. Woo-hoo. Tuesday morning, I'm heading over to Bali. So for any of my friends in Bali, if you want to catch up, give me a private message somewhere and let's connect, because I've got a few open days in Bali. I'm leaving it up for a bit of an adventure next week. In fact, I don't even know where I'm staying at this stage on Tuesday night. I'm going to a 1-week retreat in Ubud. And this is getting back to the power of your local power, right? It's funny because I told some friends at a networking event just last night in Brisbane. I said, I'm going to Bali, and they said, oh, we've got a really good driver for you. We've got this driver, we've got that driver. We know some good places you can go. Don't go here, don't do that, do this, do that. Like it really helps the power. Back to our topic today about the truth about your local power, the truth about your local power. So just in summary, Mike, now we actually are going to come around shortly. We're going to ask for your favorite motto or quote in life. However, before we do that, anything else you want to say about the truth about your local power for our show topic today?
I mean, it boils down to this. It's not as difficult to get involved as you may think. It's not as difficult to get into the garden as you may think. It's not as difficult to raise chickens. You're gonna make mistakes in any area where you start believing in your power and stop believing in what they've told you your whole life. It's not hard, and it's okay to make mistakes. We've made a few, right? So certainly it's okay. Just take a step. You can do it in any way, shape, or form. You don't have to join a political, party. You can just go to a local elected official and let them know how you feel. Anything and everything that you do to regain that power and to understand that you have sovereignty and you have that power is yours, and you have the right to either give it away or to maintain it, to hold on to it. And that's just through agreement. As long as you understand that and you start making steps that direction, I think we're going to get to where we're meant to be, which is back to sovereignty and back to freedom.
Yeah, I love that. And as much as there's a lot of darkness in the world, there's also a lot of light. And I do believe that everything is in perfect balance. So the more dark there is, the more light there is. The more light there is, the more dark there is. It's all one and the same. It's just different, different perspectives. And if you look at the stars, there's no stars without the darkness. And so what I want to say as my main words on this topic, my final words on this, is that what I've learned for myself is that everything is in divine order. Everything's in divine order. And sometimes if you don't like what you're seeing in the world and you push in anger, that's not going to help the situation. And so the thing is to accept that certain things are the way they are, and accept that you have your powers to do and be and behave and do life in accordance with what is true to you, regardless of all the shit going on in the world, but regardless of all the crap that the government's going to feed out and the media programming and channeling that has been happening for years. And watch Out of Shadows. If you want to know more about that, check out Conscious Community Global Facebook group and watch the Out of Shadows documentary that had 10 million views in a month and then was shut off. All YouTube, the major channels all tried to silence this documentary, Out of Shadows, and it is linked in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. So you can, and the fact checker thing will come up. The fact checkers will go, this is fact check, blah, blah. And who are these friggin' fact checkers? So the power of local is going, we don't believe you fact checkers. We're going to do our own research for ourselves and question everything. And that's really what we stand for here at the Total Truth Show. What about you, Ken? Any final thoughts about this topic before we go to our favorite quote or motto?
My final thoughts is I'm going to challenge you guys. It's what we're passionate about here on the Total Truth Show, and it's what we push to help people to start doing. Start asking the questions. Gone are the days where we just take what we're hearing as the truth. And, gone are the days where we listen to the celebrities that are pushing this or pushing that, or the news. Oh, this person on the news station, I've been watching him for years, and he said this and this. It must be true. So let's move in this direction. Gone are those days, you guys. We cannot afford to do that anymore. Look at where we are now. We are in part responsible for what is going on in the world today, the corruption that's in the world today. And how are we responsible? One word: complacency.
Yes.
One word: complacency.
And compliance.
We got complacent.
Yeah.
We got too relaxed.
Yes.
And we stopped asking the real questions. We stopped looking at the data for ourselves. We stopped questioning. My challenge for you is look at alternative sources. Badlandsmedia.tv is a perfect place to start. They have, I don't know how many shows that they've got. They've got like 10 or 15 different varieties of different types of shows. If you want to see sports without a woke agenda, go to Badlands Media. They actually have a show out there for that as well. They have lots of different shows, lots of different angles. They got a marketplace building, different things like that. Go check out alternative sources and keep.
Yes. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Ken. Woo!
Keep an open mind with what you're about to hear from alternate sources. That is my challenge to you.
Love it.
And are we at the point of the quote, or are we doing quote next?
Yes, we're up to quote. Let's hear Mike's quote or motto first.
Right.
Hey, let's go over to Mike.
Okay. So my quote comes from the Bible. It's Matthew 5:19. And it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God." So the peacemakers, right? You don't need peacemakers when there's peace. Those are called peacekeepers, right? It says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." So to be able to make peace, you have to, there's usually something going on, right? There's trouble, there's torment. And those people who are able to stand up and to be the change that they want to see, those are the people who are the peacemakers. And God says that they are the children of God. So that's my favorite quote. Absolutely.
Love it.
I love it. Awesome. And I'm just putting up my "Be the Change You Wish to See in the World" quote from Mahatma Gandhi. I had these little flyers done up with the media queen, and it says at the bottom here, I give this to people and I say, you are awesome and a gift to the world. Don't ever forget it. And remember that you are awesome and a gift to the world. And Ken, what's your favorite quote or motto?
I'm going to use my all-time favorite one, and this is especially because Mike is here on our show tonight, and I'm just very excited and just love everything we've talked about tonight. And so Mike will appreciate this. This is the quote. It's on my wall. "Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation." That is coming from Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, love it, Ken. Thank you so much. And my quote today is, because normally my one is the Mahatma Gandhi one, right? But since you said it, Mike, today, be the change you wish to see in the world. And I loved what you said about the peacemakers. That is absolutely brilliant. My one is from Margaret Mead, and it's a small group of thoughtful people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. Thank you so much for joining us here on Total Truth Show today. It's been episode 33, and I've noticed we've had a consistent number 3 people. People have been coming in and off this live stream, but 3 has been a consistent number through this. Lots of loves and etc. from our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've loved what you've seen today, then please pop a love in the chat and also share the love. Share the love. If you know someone else that might enjoy this, check out our Total Truth Show page on Facebook. We have a page there. If you like the page, you'll see all our previous 32 episodes. Any final words from Mike or Ken before we wrap up the show today?
Just for me, thank you so much for creating this space for me to be able to come on and share.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'd love to have you back again. And we won't be waiting another 50 episodes because this has been a fantastic conversation here today. And we'll get you back soon again, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Ken, any final words? Thank you for our Facebook users here. You've said hello as well. Thank you for joining us. Ken, final words?
No final words. You guys just please stop just accepting what you're hearing and start questioning. Even the people that are telling the truth, question that too. Think for yourself.
Yes. In fact, check out our episode called The Truth About the Truth. You'll love that one. All right. Well, thanks so much for connecting once again. Check out our BitChute channel, our Rumble channel. Check us out on YouTube and connect on the socials. Lots of love to you. We'll see you again soon. Thank you again once again, Mike. Amazing. Love your work, and we'll